What is going on, guys? Did you know that in life, there's a million different problems that you can have? But how many know that the person who is sick only has one problem? Today, I want to talk about health, okay? As people of God that are maturing into this new quantum age of Aquarius, we need to begin to learn how to prosper in our health. In the church age of consciousness, we've been so focused on, God, heal me. And we're expecting Jesus to come down and give us a touch and heal us. And we've become victims. In many cases, we've become victims. In many cases, we're separate from health. We're separate from abundance. We're separate from wholeness in our spirit, in our mind, and in our body. And this is evident. The body doesn't lie. You know, when we're fat, when we're sick, when we're tired, when we're fatigued, when we have joint pain, when we have depression, when we have anxiety. You know, oftentimes we just blame these things on a spirit of depression, or a spirit of fear, or a spirit of tiredness, or a spirit of obesity. You know what I mean? So we're blaming things, being ignorant a lot of the time. And so I want to bring some very practical revelations about our health, because in this kingdom age, it's not so much about needing to get healed. It's about learning the principles, how to live in divine health and wholeness, so that we can be the best that we can be, so that we can live into old age, living and moving and having our being in the spirit, feeling amazing, feeling connected, being able to play with our kids, being able to play with our grandkids, being able to do the things into older age that we thought that we would never be able to do. Okay? So here we go. Let's talk about this. There's really two main things to consider with health and why you're sick, why disease and symptoms are manifesting in your body. The first is you have an abundance of things that you don't need. You have an abundance of toxicity in your body, an abundance of yeast, mold, candida, parasites, heavy metals, plastics. There's an abundance of crap and toxicity in the modern world just by eating, just by moving, just by walking around, by the lotions and potions and pills that we take are full of aluminum, are full of all sorts of parabens, full of all sorts of toxicity that we didn't even have 50 years ago. Okay? So the first reason that you're sick in your body is because of an abundance of toxicity and things that you don't need. Now, the other side is a lack of the things that we do need. Nutrient deficiencies, energy production, mitochondrial function. We're lacking effective and efficient nutrients, phytochemicals, things in our body that are actually essential for us to make the correct hormones, neurotransmitters, and have our body functioning perfectly. Okay? So that's really simple. We break it down. Too much crap that we don't need, not enough good that we do need. And oftentimes when we begin to remove the crap that we don't need, our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made, and they begin to harmonize and calibrate us into our highest, healthiest version of ourselves. Okay? Just a couple years ago, I want to just give you a quick testimony of mine. Just a couple years ago, back in 2019 and previous to that in 2018, I'll even go back farther than that. So growing up, I was a high-level athlete, soccer player, one of the best long-distance runners in my city and in my province for my age group. And so I was an avid athlete. I was always fit, always felt great. I wanted to be a fitness trainer. And so I ended up getting certified as a fitness trainer. I went into health coaching, and I started this health coaching business back in 2015 for people in my church. It was a Christian health coaching business. Because how many know that in the church, if we take a look, there's no difference between health of people in the church and then health of people in the world. Like if you lined up a bunch of people, you would not be able to tell the difference. In many cases, people in the church would actually be sicker than people in the world. Okay? And that shouldn't be the case. God says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. And oftentimes we've hyper-spiritualized what it means to be healthy, and we lack the practical knowledge to actually get there. But when we merge the spirit with practical knowledge, then we begin to embody, understand on the truth, and align to the truth, And when we come into divine alignment, spirit, soul, and body, not just wishing it's going to happen, not just hoping it's going to happen in the future, but actually aligning and taking steps forward through informed wisdom and knowledge, then we get set free. So in my life, I knew what it felt like to be very healthy, very optimized, functioning at a very high level in sports. And then all of a sudden in 2019, I began to go through this season. After an extended season of prayer and fasting, God led me into the wilderness to die. And my dying process required me to face every identity that was attached to something external. Everything that my ego mind thought that I needed in order to be great, that I'm a business owner, that I'm a health coach, that I'm a minister, that I'm a prophetic evangelist, that I'm a fitness trainer. And so my identity was I needed to look good. I needed to feel good. I needed to prove and perform and look good in the spiritual giftings and the spiritual flow. And I needed to do all of these things in order to feed my ego. And all of that was my false separate self that was separate from God, trying to fulfill and become what I already am as one with Christ. So God allowed me to go through a Job type experience where all of my worst fears came upon me. I lost, God said, lay down your business and learn to be loved by me. So I thought that meant focus on ministry more. I had a mentor, seasoned prophet friend of mine, call me up and say, Daniel, God's telling you to lay down your ministry for at least a year. And I was like, what? So I went out and visited him, stayed at his house for a weekend, and we pressed in. And it was sure, God was telling me to lay down my business, lay down my ministry, and learn to be loved by him. And I was in such a doer mindset, and my nervous system was so wound up tight because I was so used to striving and doing that I didn't realize that it was beginning to calibrate me into sickness and disease. Because we have two parts of our nervous system, rest and digest, and fight and flight. And when you're always in fight and flight, even if you're doing good things for God or for others, there isn't that balance. And so we begin to burn ourselves out. We begin to burn our nervous system out. And my hormones started to get jacked up. Then all of a sudden, about a month later, I had a freak spinal cord injury while I was brushing my teeth. And I fell onto the ground. I coughed because I put the toothbrush too far back, and I coughed and I fell onto the ground. And I literally was in excruciating pain for 3 to 4 months straight, where I was bedridden and I couldn't walk. My right leg had the most extreme sciatica pain, and I couldn't even sleep because I was in so much pain. I literally had to. I experienced the dark hole of how deep human suffering can go. And every 48 hours or so, my body would just shut off and I would pass out for 2 hours and I'd wake back up. And I was in this terribly uncomfortable, in so much pain, became suicidally depressed, hyper manic in my brain, and everything in my body was dysregulated. In that 6-month period, I ended up gaining about 80 pounds. I became morbidly obese on the BMI index. So I lost my identity of being a fitness trainer and someone who's an athlete and healthy. I had a severe back injury and a leg injury where my right leg atrophied down to like way smaller than my left leg. And I never thought that I was going to be able to run again, which was a huge passion of mine. And I had the testosterone of a 95-year-old man. I got diagnosed with low testosterone, pre-diabetes. I had severe joint pain, insomnia, depression, a whole host of mental health issues, like feelings of depression, anxiety so deep I couldn't leave my house, bipolar up and down swings, insomnia, not being able to sleep, dissociative panic attacks where like a part of my mind, I'd be outside of my body. And I was so inflamed and I had so much inflammation in my joints. Life was a living hell. I literally went through hell. Okay. Even though I walked through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, because that was the season that I went through. And I know that many people are going through sickness and trials and diseases and tribulations in their body. And I want to share with you, and I want to make a series about how to actually heal our body, because here I am now, lost over 100 pounds and have kept it off consistently for over 2 years. Did you know that statistically, people do not, anyone who loses weight does not keep it off over a year. 95% of people don't keep it off over a year. And so when you can keep it off over a year, you break that statistic and it instill a new habit and a new lifestyle into your life. The biggest problem for me my entire life, because I went through a lot of yo-yo dieting, a lot of binge eating, a lot of trauma eating, in order to overcome a lot of addiction and and trauma that I had in my heart from when I was a kid and from the past. We need to recalibrate and realize that we have everything pertaining to life and godliness inside of ourselves. And we are powerful to begin to change our reality. You are powerful to heal. You are powerful to overcome whatever the issue is in your mind and your body, no matter how deep the self-sabotage loops are, no matter how deep the addictive patterns are. Okay? And so in this video, I just want to make you aware. So now, after all of this, I have minimal anxiety and depression. I won't say that it'll never come, but when it comes now, I know how to meet it with love. I know how to sit there and begin to love my inner child, to bring Christ in, because Christ is in us, the hope of glory. So we're one with God. And when we bring that love of oneness with God into our body, into some of these patterns that are making us sick, because a lot of times the patterns and programs, the mental and emotional patterns and programs are the things that are making us sick, because those low vibrational states create dis-ease in the body. Then they cause us to go binge eat, or then they cause us to use chemicals or drugs or alcohol or whatever it is. Okay? So oftentimes we know the things that we should stop doing, but we can't stop doing them. And oftentimes we know the things that we should be doing, but they're crowded out by all the stuff that we shouldn't be doing. And so in this series, I'm going to teach you how to detox your mind, how to detox your body. I'm actually going to give you a base level understanding of what I take my coaching clients through with my Divine Aligned Spirit Body Mind program, where I help people integrate, elevate, and calibrate to new levels of health in the body, peace in the mind, and love in the heart. Okay? Because in this new kingdom age of Aquarius, we are called to be the most vibrant, authentic, healthy, light shining in the eyes, full in union with Christ, divine versions of ourselves that we can be. Okay? And so I'm going to start off talking about how to detox our bodies, nutrition, quantum biology. Did you know that we're quantum electromagnetic beings? And that when we begin to harmonize ourselves with the correct environment, we get the right signals from our environment and we begin to get healthy? There is profound changes that we can make in our lives, day-to-day lives, that God has built into nature, principles that God has built into nature that will heal us. Okay, so I'm going to be bringing high-level wisdom and knowledge through this next series here to begin to help you enter into the best version of yourself so that you can manifest your highest version of health, which will lead to being able to keep all of the wealth that you make and receive from the wealth transfer and into an abundant life to be able to build the kingdom. Okay, shalom, friends.